Okay, good. We don't have to do any of that Zoom business. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it would be a waste of time anyway because it's 2 a.m. in America. So, actually, probably that's when they're up. So, yeah, so actually would be worthwhile, but we won't.
Fuck that shit.
What'd you say? You want to say that again? No? Oh, yeah. Who went back? English? I don't want to say bad things. Yeah, we need to for Breng. You know what for Breng is?
Yeah.
So for me, the best thing about my Midnight Rabbi job was they pretty much gave me freedom to do what I want at that time. Like, there wasn't no counselors. I mean, there were a little bit, but not like, one was checking in on what exactly I was doing. So for me, the best thing was to get the guys to come with me to Chabad for Brengen. And I'd bring half of this yeshiva, and they'd all come back in such great mood, obviously. And it was good times. I mean, it was was the streets of Ben Yehuda, because they were all living in Jerusalem, those yeshivas. But another option was I got money for a recording studio, because there was a guy who my dad was friends with. He just the year before bought Black Eyed Peas to Yerushalayim. You know that band, yeah? And he'd done a big concert called Jerusalem Rocks. So he met up with me in the old city and handed me $25K on his credit card to just buy a studio. So we did, and the guys were using it, and we ended up doing a Battle of the Bands that year, which I changed to Unity of the Bands, Unity concert, and because YU didn't have any money after made off of it, yeah, and by that time they'll stop doing any of those kind of things. So I filled that space, and the guys were really into it. Anyway, today we're going to talk about priorities, yeah? This is a hard one, much harder as you go up the habits, as you go through what we're learning together, especially in bringing it back to intimacy. It gets harder and harder, and the reason being because it's now going from private victory, which we already said last time when we had the intimacy class, getting yourself sorted out. It's a whole nother story now to start bringing it into your schedule, bringing it into your public life, because if anyone knows what's going on online, for example, the public life can be a little bit ruthless, yeah? You guys, do you get cyberbullied, or have you seen it going on all the time? No. Good. I thought you were joking. You said it with a smile. So you guys aren't getting that, but it is a reality that people do go through, and these are part of the challenges of being more public. Thank God I'm not that public, but anyone who is really getting smashed right now. Even people who are very positive. Everything they're saying has been, I've been watching some of the comments, and usually it's positive, and they're starting to get a lot of hate, negative energy. Rav Shlomo Katz told me himself that he's getting a lot of hatred right now. So publicly, once you shift from being more private in your own, you're at a stage in life where you're more working on yourself and getting your life together, but once you start bringing it outwards, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, especially the way the world's set up nowadays. So we're going to give us the tools to really get the private victory sorted out, so that we don't end up, when we go public with our success story of what we're here for, what our purpose is, especially with a relationship. For example, you can't really lock in a lady until you're on a private level understood who you are. You can't really love someone else till you love yourself. That's the rule, yeah? You can't really be dedicated to another human being until you've figured out your own flow. Yes, please ask.
If I'm not for myself, then who will be for me?
Yeah.
It's who I'm named after.
Yeah, Hillel. Yeah, so it's true. And if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? And if not for now, then when? There's a certain, as we said yesterday's class being all in, there's a certain push right now to be a bit more on the ball than we ever were, less chill, more focus. That's what's going on generally. We spoke about that yesterday, and I put it up. I think it's important. I shared it around with you guys because I listened to it again myself, and I realized there's a lot of good points in that class I myself need to hear. One of the things I didn't mention, which I'd want to mention, we mentioned about Avram Avinu. Now he was married to Sarah Meinu, and I didn't want to say this to you in front of the girls. I think the girls were pretty like into it. They were cool. Like I felt like they were welcomed inclusion at that time period. But what I don't want to say is stuff that's going to make you guys feel like uncomfortable because you're probably not doing it. Yeah, and I know myself, like being married for almost 22 years. That Avram Avinu, when he put his wife first, like there was none of this narcissist, like, sort of taking advantage of the fact that women are givers and want to nurture. You know what I'm saying? Like, they generally. So, like, Avram Avinu, what the first thing he did? He set up his tent for his wife, meaning he took care of her needs before himself. Yeah, that was a challenge that. Straight away at the beginning of the Torah, we see already a sensitivity towards his wife. She was also the most beautiful lady in the world. That's brought down in the Talmud. Like, we all know that Jewish women are the best, yeah? Everyone agrees on that? Yeah? So it says in the Talmud, 9/10 of beauty was given to Jerusalem. And I knew about that when I first came to Israel, so that was very motivating to come visit. I don't know why they don't use that as a brand tool, like for birthright and all that stuff. If I was in their marketing team, that would be one of my lines. But 9/10 of beauty was given to Jerusalem. Yeah, so that includes the ladies. Yeah, in my opinion. Yeah, so the idea that there's certain specialness to our people, and Sarah Meinu, the first Jewish woman, was the most beautiful, and Avram Avinu knew that, but that meant he had to look after it. Because what happens when you go to say, I don't know if you have these districts where you grew up, but like in London we had Soho, or you have nightclub scene, yeah? If you go to more sleazy places, you're leaving the door open for the sleaze to get hold of your lady, yeah? So that's not a good move, yeah? I experienced that firsthand. I had a girlfriend, I bought her a beautiful dress, like really beautiful, like hundreds of pounds, which would be like, way more dollars and thousands of shekels, and I went out with her family for her birthday. She was wearing the new dress, and then what was the move I made that was bad? I then took her out clubbing. What do I need to go take out this beautiful girl clubbing? What's the point? What do I need? Just because my boys are doing that or whatever, but I've got my girl. I don't need to go to a club. I don't need anything from that environment. Yeah, but being the stupid kid I was, I took her out clubbing, and what did she do that night? Now, I had a little bit of an addiction to fruit machines. You know what fruit machines are? Does anyone? And you're English, yeah? But
it's like, not fruit machines.
Yeah. 7777 770. You get chabad. No, I'm joking. You get money. Yeah, you get jackpot. You get okay. So I was busy with the fruit machines, and you put quid after quid after quid. That's £1, and you're just putting it in. And it's eating up your money. Anyway, so I was busy doing that. And then I come back to the dance floor, and she's like, I don't know, I'm going to use the word snogging. You know what snogging is? Yeah, like really having a good one with another guy in the dress I just bought her after going out with her family on her birthday. And I've been going out with this girl for a while, and I was just like, whoa, So this was a long story. I could get into the parts, because this continued for a while. Like, even ended up in one of those crazy islands, like Ibiza style. And she was there, and he was there, and I ended up getting into fights with him and his boys. Huh?
Did you win?
I was pretty much by myself. For some reason, my boys, we were having I was talking about it actually. Remember I told you I had a reunion of all my old friends? So we had a discussion about that trip, because that trip was weird. We all went to this island together. A few of the boys are meant to join us later, but we were like a group, and there was such a negative energy in this island with all like the drinking and the scene and the whole thing, that we ended up, half my boys ended up freaking out one time. Like, one of them had broken up with someone. Like, it was just, and he ended up throwing stuff out the window. It wasn't even them, and it was someone else. But then he got accused, and they all got sent out of the hotel and sent home. And like the whole trip just went really like not good. And so then by the time I saw that guy, like, and his crew, like, I was pretty much that night by myself. So it was like me versus, and they were older than me as well. So it wasn't such a good, successful situation. But one moment that was important, and this will relate to what we're learning, is I was in a nightclub later on that night, and she was there without all those boys, and she started singing a song which was very famous at that time. It was like a famous dance song. You're free and got to do what you got to do. You got to live your life and be what you got to be. So it was a famous dance song then. If anyone's from the 90s, they would know what I'm singing, yeah? Anyway, so she was singing it, and I suddenly had this moment. I'm better than this. This is not my life. Fighting, women. I mean, even that night, I even got with some girl the night before to try and make her jealous. And she was like one of the, I don't know if you know what it is, but there's like these club girls who literally they're there every night and they're there as part of the club, but they're... Yeah, like...
They go to guys, make them model and stuff, and they
Yeah.
get
Yeah, and so she was like doing that with me, and I ended up back at her place, and I literally did nothing. She said, "Come, you want to lie?" I was like, "I've got to sleep. I'll hug you. I'm emotional. I'm feeling broken about this other girl." And she said, "Honestly, I'm fed up with this lifestyle. I'm missing my life back in Wales. That's where she was from originally." And funny enough, a lot of the stuff she was wearing was like all like extra. Like she had like extra hair, added on, and like high heels. She wasn't actually that tall, and when like, you get into the real life, it's all an illusion, yeah. But the prettiness and stuff. But this other girl who was singing to me at the nightclub I felt like I was suddenly the ex-girl. I'm better than this. I don't need this anymore. And I had this moment of godliness in a nightclub in the most sleazy place in the world, with someone who just broke my heart for like a bunch of months, and I was like, and that's it. I literally, after that trip, my whole life changed. I ended up back in Spain because that's my family have a place there and a swimming pool and everything. So I went and ended up there, and I ended up, every time I ate non-kosher food, getting violently ill. All my earrings started getting infected and popping out. And I started making choices because I had one up here and two here, and my ear went really big. It was really weird, because it got infected and just blew up to the point where I couldn't have my earrings. So by Yom Kippur that year, I didn't have any earrings anymore, and I wasn't eating I was only eating kosher, and it wasn't like any rabbi, anyone was like brainwashing me. It was just God was taking over my life. Literally, it was a weird thing. I'm really honest. I'm telling you, it was like God was saying you're better than this, than the secular lifestyle in London, and it wasn't coming from any program or outside. It was just from within. I had a few sincere people around me who weren't religious, who would just talk to me about real things that helped. But it was amazing experience as a person, to go through that. And I knew that I had to get out of that environment. And that was a key point, what I'm getting at. When you found this goal, you have to be clever about it. You have to think that this is now, as we said, all in. I'm all in with this person, and I can't create situations where I'm going to ruin it. Like, for example, the nightclub. There was no need for us to go there, and that ruined our relationship. Obviously, it was meant to be because she wasn't the one. And, funny enough, I did reconnect to her about 10 years later. I was working for Yeshiva. I don't know if it's still around, Neve Sion. Yeah, there's still the Neve boys. They're still around. You ever see them around? I don't know if it exists. Actually, they call it Teferis or something else. Anyway, they're all from. They all live in Telstone, Yeshiva. You ever see the Telstone boys? Back in the day, they were like the boys that come to town and just beat people up, literally. Yeah, that was what they did. They were like the toughest guys, and all big druggies as well. Anyway, so I was working there, and there was a guy actually throwing furniture around because he was having a breakdown from I don't know what drug he was on. He ended up going back to rehab in California, and then he ended up in prison, that guy. But I was locked in the office because I didn't want him to throw a chair at me, and I was with one of the guys, and I was busy on the computer, and I said, I've just reconnected to this girl, somehow online. I'm going to send her an email. And he was like, oh, cool, what are you going to say to her? I'm just going to say I'm sorry because, before she cheated on me, I cheated on her, and I felt bad, that whole time period. So I wrote her an email, and she was like, oh, it's so nice to hear from you. She said, that time? So that time we were kids, it meant nothing. We're just we were immature, we didn't know what relationships was. So I wrote back to her, I said, I hear what you're saying, yeah, it's true. But still, I've had a journey since then. I know it's over 10 years. I'm sure I think was even getting married. I was married already many years. And I said, like, nothing to do with that, but like, it's just, I just want to like have closure. Like I feel bad the way I behaved as a young guy, even then. Yeah, even then. And she was like, okay, if that's how you feel, great, no problem, let's move on. And I haven't, thank God, had any contact. But like the point is that these kind of relationships, which you just at the time you think are just hookups and fun, but it does affect you, and it did affect me in a deep way. I'm not saying afterwards you're now going to have this God moment, but it did affect me in a way that opened me up to want something better, to want something that wouldn't be so painful and so rejecting and so lack of trust, and to be so embarrassed as well. Because remember, I was at a nightclub, all my friends were there, and all her friends were there, and all this guy's friends were there, and it was in front of everybody. It was very embarrassing as well. Yeah, and I was crying at some point because I was like, I didn't realize how much I cared about her, and it was just a very embarrassing moment. And the worst thing was, this was the worst thing, and this is where you start to realize with relationships, you start to do really stupid things. Even that night, I drove her home. Like, what? Drove her home? Like, why would I drive her home? Yeah, like, and I carried on like in this circle, like sort of stuck. We're not really letting go of her for a while. And that's something which, like, you can get confused. The love energy, the whole thing with a lady can really play with your logic and intellect, and you start doing crazy stuff. So what we're going to learn today, I wasn't planning on talking about that, but it came out. I think it's important. We have to first get rid of the false relationships to get to the right relationships. And being able to now bring everything we've learned now, being proactive, that means what's proactive? You guys tell me, we've talked about it enough. Yeah? Choosing, someone here said.
You make a decision.
You making a decision. Choosing. Making the relationship happen, meaning creating relationships, yeah? Okay. Second, what was the second thing we've been learning over here? End in mind, mission statement. One of the things your counselor said, you have a journal. Is that right? Does anyone use it? Honestly, I bet the girls do. Do you guys use it?
Sometimes.
Maybe. Okay, so if anyone wants to use it and wants to write down stuff, great. That's what she asked me to mention. Okay, I did my job. Okay, but okay, I know the girls are definitely probably using it more. Yeah, because there's different. Like women have a different way of taking these kind of things more seriously. But the point is that you've got your phone somewhere. Write down your mission somewhere. Put it down. Start working on it. Even now, trust me, you'll appreciate it long term, because it will give you that individual like self-control that you're more self-aware now. It's not just about what your parents are saying, it's not just about what your friends are saying, it's not just about what the counselor. You start to build your own vision of who you are, what you're here for. It's important. Yeah, this is your life. It's no one else's life. And as much as everyone's going to say their piece to you, you got to figure out for your own individual way what it is I'm here for. And that's got to be your own personal thing. And you write it down, and you develop it, You can pray on it, you can discuss it with someone who you feel is more objective and actually cares about you legit. Like, these are the kind of things you can do. Now, we're at a point, once you've done that, then we get to this third thing, priorities. What is my priority? Is my priority fun? Like, if you would figure out what's the top of my priority list, what am I going to invest the most amount of time in? Is my priority this latest, like, Xbox game or PlayStation game? Yeah, or, you have to figure out, what is my priority? Is it while I'm in yeshiva or in Bnei Akiva or wherever you are, while I'm in school, while I'm in university? Is it to get laid? Yeah? I don't know if you know what that means. To get women? Yeah? Like, is that what it's about? Like, is that my priority? You start working out, what are my priorities? Like, is it to honor my parents or not? Is it, you start figuring out. And when you start to work out what the most important things in your life are, then you can start setting it up, how you're going to go about doing it. Now, every company, every business guy, every successful person you look at out there, they know what their priority is. And they're so laser focused on doing it. Like, there's nothing going to stop them. I would get out a pen and start writing on the board, like all these quadrants, and start mapping out how you need to make that the main focus of your time. Because basically, otherwise what happens, you spend a lot of your time putting out fires if you don't do this. What does that mean? Like my whole story with the girl, you're wasting your time with this girl who's not going to help you in anything in life other than play with your head and your money. And you're not going to get long-term much back out of this relationship. Like it's a waste of time, basically, literally. Or if you're totally addicted to your video games, which right now I have a game I'm playing, like my kids got me into it, and
What's it called?
it's a stupid game, like Hotel or something, running a hotel, yeah? It's really stupid. But maybe I just enjoy the fact you make loads of money out of it and constantly scale. But so you're constantly scaling and building this hotel. But the point is, if I would clear about my priorities, I wouldn't waste my time with it, yeah? So that's like, we got to figure that out, like how much time we have to also have fun and chill time, but not that it takes over functionality, yeah? And this is like something which, once again, as I said, as we're going on these classes, it's going to get harder and harder, because this is starting to get into a more subtle, like, real look at yourself in a much more like analytic way. You're not just going to be like, you know, whatever the road takes me kind of thing. You're going to be a bit more mindful and intentional. And that's going to happen all the time, like with life, that you're going to have to figure out more and more, like while you're in yeshiva, like, or Bnei Akiva, or you're in university, or wherever it is, like, even though there is a whole time set aside to just chill, but there's also time to learn, there's also time to give, there's also time for yourself. That's really important. You have to figure out, when you're with yourself, sometimes to put the machines away and just figure out, who am I? What am I doing over here? Like, what am I, there has to be some self-assessment. That's why it's one of the things, having a mission statement is really good. Or journaling, or figuring out your creative spark. Like if you're a musician, if you're an artist. Right now my wife's starting to paint again. You know, because it's not because she has lots of time, but just because she needs to start tapping into that side of herself that brings happiness. You can't just only be a mummy and work, you know, or like be a father and work, or be a young guy and just have fun. Like there has to be a time for each thing. Like life is built into quadrants, into schedule, and you need to make sure. For example, exercise, very important. Everyone needs to release physically. If you're only sitting inside classrooms or doing whatever, like you're not going to feel like in a good state of mind. Like the people who make sure they work out every day, they're the most like focused, vibing energy kind of process. So right now, I'm a big swimmer. I don't have a swimming pool in the front. I don't know what delayed it. It looks like it's great. It looks like it's ready to go. I don't know why. And now with the war, they have probably more excuses because Arab workers or whatever the other reasons are that it's not being open. But for me, swimming is crucial. Like I need to swim. It just does something healthy. It releases something, being in the water. I don't know. Everyone needs to figure out what that is that's going to help you feel in the best state of mind. Yeah, it could be like healthy eating. It could be, basically the concept is you want to live effectively. Now, where do we see this in our Holy Torah? And we mentioned it last night as well about being all in, yesterday's class. So all in is Avraham Avinu. What did he do? He was there for God. He was there for his mission, the whole of Avram, with all his heart. And that doesn't just mean his good side of his heart. It's two hearts. You have a negative heart as well. Your bad voices, your negative voices. Everyone has that. Everyone has a bad inclination and a good inclination. Avraham Avinu, what his message to the world was, you have to come to the game with both. Not deny that you have that negative side to yourself, that ego. You have to be real, you have it, and use that also for your mission. You have to figure out how to channel the whole being of who you are into everything. And that was Avinu being proactive, getting stuff done. Then we have Yitzchak Avinu, his son. Yeah, we're going to see a lot more about him coming up. Yitzchak Avinu was b'chol nafshecha. He gave up his whole life. We know that next week's parsha, Akedas Yitzchak, he gave up literally his whole life. He was willing to. But he also was willing to give up. It means a certain like self-control, a certain focus of what your mission is. That's what we're learning about the end in mind. Yitzchak was all about end in mind. Yaakov is the next one. Guess what it is? Priorities. What was his priority? What did he build for the Jewish people? Family first. How many kids did he have? You go figure that one out. 12 kids. How many wives?
More than 12 kids. He just said 12 sons.
12 sons.
4
4 wives. Now, I can't deal with one. Yeah, you're going to deal with 4 wives. Yeah. Now, understand a little bit now when it starts getting a bit labedic, like challenging, and you see with the sons and with Yosef, it ends up in Egypt. All the stories that we know so well, that Yaakov was the one who had to serve what? Moedecha, with his money. Anyone who's got kids knows, very expensive activity. But also with your attributes, your character traits, with how he's processing all the things that kids do to piss you off. Yeah, let's be honest. How much have you pissed off your parents in your life so far? I know I have. Yeah, and I'm still 43. I'm still doing it. But at the same time, they love us so much that there's room to work it out. There's room to move on. Hopefully, you trying not to overly do that. You're trying to respect them. And the point is, that's Yaakov. He is the master at priorities. He's the one who knows how to prioritize work-life balance with bringing up the family. He's the example of this third attribute. And you see how it connects in perfectly. Avram is proactive, being kind. End in mind is Yitzchak Avinu giving it all, having a mission. And Yaakov is priorities. First things first, family first. It fits perfectly to the characters of our Torah. Now let's think about Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. We all descend from them. Every Jew does. Yeah, they represent very holy attributes that we can all learn about, and they've implanted in us those attributes. That's why the Jewish people are exceptional. But the most important thing is to realize they represent the private victory. This whole time period now in the Torah is teaching us private victory, teaching us how to get ourselves sorted out. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov style. Yeah, proactive, end in mind, priority style. Only then can we start becoming a people, having 12 tribes, get into Masha, building this larger mission as a people and becoming public. You get the process. The Torah is talking to us in a real way. Saying first, get yourself sorted out, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov style. That's how the Torah begins. Then we're ready to go now, what? And become a nation. Become 12 tribes, become a nation in the world, and start being public. So that even the Torah itself is built in this formula of private to public. Sort yourself out before you can go and build a family and a nation. And that's the process. It's very clear. You start to, this is one of the things, this is something you should all think about. Have you ever looked into life and figured there's so much patterns going on? The things are not just WhatsApp happenstance. There's a flow, there's a pattern. Does anyone ever have that? Maybe it's just me personally, I think that way. But there's a flow, you start to think, wait a minute, I feel like I've been in this place before, and you know what? Things start to connect up, start to make connections. Does anyone think this way, or am I just the crazy one? Yeah? Maybe I'm the crazy one. I'll take it. Yeah? You start to make sense. I'll give it, for me, big thing right now. I don't know if anyone's into soccer, but Spurs right now are top of the league. Yeah?
Yeah, it's delusional.
And that, what'd you say?
Delusional.
That is, you go onto the Google and you price the Premier League of England, and my team is top of the league.
My team is bottom of the league.
Who's that?
Ajax. We just fired a manager yesterday. It's a big disaster. I don't stop.
Okay, we won't talk about it. But it's unbelievable. And they lost their best player this year. Maybe, but Kane, yeah, and then he went off to Bayern Munich, German team. Yeah, it was even that's a bit of a kick in the Yid army to Kishkas. But nevertheless, it was a bit crazy to think that a football team that generally never wins nothing, always just is in the middle of the table somewhere, and suddenly a new management comes in, and there's a whole new energy, and the main player leaves, and it sort of opens up. I'm just trying to understand a little bit, how could they be the top, and how is that relevant for me? Because say they got this guy Song, he becomes the captain, yeah? If anyone plays FIFA, Song is one of the top guys there, yeah? My son, who plays FIFA all the time, always has Song on his team. He's the guy you'd want on your team. And one of the things about Song I love so much, if I do love him. It's not just that, he's a really nice guy. Like that, I'm not saying that that's unusual, but it probably is in football because they become, big stars and get a lot of media attention, and it's a hard lifestyle. Like Joe Rogan himself is in awe of soccer players or football players because he says like the amount of exercise, the amount of the amount of running they have to do on the pitch. There's probably no other sport like that. It's not like American football where they have your football for Americans. They have breaks, advertisement breaks throughout the whole game. There's constant. It's in soccer. It's literally football. It's non-stop running for 45 minutes and then again another 45 minutes, and it can be extra time as well, huh? All right, you're true. Those drivers are nuts. And by the way, if you want a movie to watch, that movie on Formula One, the gaming one, that's a film worth watching. What was it called again? Yeah, that was good. That was a good movie. I took my family to that. That was like, whoa, like taking like technology and movies like to another level. The characters are in it were really good as well. That's if you're gonna between Barbie and that, go definitely Gran Turismo. It was great. So you're right. There are other sports that are really intense. Like they even have a 24-hour one as well. But they have team. But that's a team, and it is still the stop-offs. But soccer is like non-stop, and you see how big the thigh muscles, the leg muscles are, and because they have to do so much running. But Song, what's great about him is now he's in a position now of more authority and more influence. What he's done, from what I'm gathering, is he's really creating space for everyone.
Madison also changed the team out.
Also, and then there's that other guy who was suspended, who's amazing as well. Yeah, Bismarck, whatever his name is. So they've got some really good players, so that helps. But the real key to the game, as much as Song is the new management. Why? Because it's from Australia. Obviously, they're going to do well. Who's Australian here?
He's not here.
Oh, there we go. Got one Aussie. Yeah, the manager's Australian. So, but what he's done, from what I'm understood, is he's redefined the whole energy in the team. He's picked up everything at a level, and you see, it's so important to have good leadership. And this is something which I've worked really hard on, because when it comes to finding your priorities, you're generally not going to be so objective. It doesn't matter who you are. You're generally going to have things that you're going to prioritize that shouldn't be your priority. You're going to get caught up with emergencies, things that you don't really need to take care of. So what the advantage of having a manager or a leader or someone objective to talk to, someone outside of your personal needs, you're going to have someone or your own way of looking at life, you're going to have someone a little bit outside of that, and they're going to help you be most effective. That's one of the advantages of having a program. It is healthy to have a place where they help guide you at this stage of your life. They give you a curriculum, they give you a schedule, they give people like myself come in to give you a little bit of that guidance. It's important because you're not going to always be in that kind of vibe of wanting to do this kind of focus and prioritization, and you're going to need something outside of you. Sometimes life will force you to prioritize. Right now, the war is forcing people to prioritize. Like my son, he was a party guy, on some level, not crazy party. He got to the point very young, very quick, like I did also, where he grew tired of it. By 16 already, he sort of had enough somewhat, and he started to even when he went out to town, he would stay away from all the action, and just because he used to get into a lot of fights, but he'd stay away from it. I mean, a story he just told me recently, that there was an American guy who was constantly giving it to him, making it, getting in his face, and so at some point he beat him up really bad, yeah, and he ended up in hospital. It was pretty serious, and I was worried his father was going to sue. I don't know what, because he was a very rich guy, and he was basically sticking his money in my son's face, saying, and my son was saying back to him, "This is just your father's money. You don't have nothing." Yeah, but anyway. So I was a bit upset with my son because, in the end, the guys come to Israel. You don't put him in hospital. You can be upset. You can tell him to back off, but you don't put him in hospital. Anyway, about 2 years later, my son's grown up. He's in the army. He's more mature. And he's on the tram, the light railway. and this was like a recent story, and he sees the guy, and the guy comes up to him and says, look, I really want to apologize the way I was like getting in your face, and it wasn't good what you did to me. And he said, yeah, I'm really sorry that he said, basically they made up. The guy said, look, it's amazing timing. I'm about to leave Israel. I'm going to work for my father. I've been here now a few years. I'm probably not going to be back for a long time. It's weird that we bumped into each other. You know what? I'm taking you out. You and your friend, my friend, we're going to go out for dinner. And he went and took out my son. My son sent me a picture of him sitting with this guy and his friend and the other guy's friend, and they had dinner together. Yeah, it was like the recent moment. Like, this is cool. Like, he's grown up. The other guy's grown up. There's maturity. Now they're like figuring out. Like, it's not just about at the moment. The alcohol that they're on, and just like that ego sort of man, sort of, making sure everyone knows who he is and he's around and he's the toughest guy in this place and all that kind of nonsense that goes on amongst us guys. And he's like, no, we're going to make peace, we're going to eat, we're going to connect. And then the guy went, literally after that meal, went into a taxi, went off to the airport. It was his last time in Israel. And this was like a real story that just happened very recently. I mean, I've got so many stories, and this is not even me, this is my kids. Yeah. So we start to realize that you start to live like a bit more elevated life with all these kind of decisions. Instead of beating people up, you're working it out, And he was real that he does come from a wealthy home, and it's not right for him to splash it in all these hardworking Israelis' faces. At that time, my son was working in a falafel store, so he'd keep coming in there and like making fun, kind of thing. Like he's got his dad's card, and life's good, and he can just buy this and buy that. And my son's like schwitzing away working in a store, like. It's like, come on, have some respect for these young people who are working for their money, And so there was a certain like fixing of that. But anyway, the point is that schedule, prioritization, and being focused on what you're here for. You might need a little bit of outside help to get there. Since we're sort of ending up the class now, I want to ask anyone any questions. We've had now 3 important principles put out there that connect into our essence of who we are, being kind, having a mission, and now how to actualize that mission in real time. Obviously there's loads of levels of how to get that better and better done, and we can discuss it. But does anyone here have any questions like right now, what's going on in life? I know you guys are in a program where they have changed up the flow. There was meant to be more TLM. You're meant to be going around doing more stuff. I know that's hard because the TLM, like I joined the program when I came to Israel. It was called the JLE Experience, and it was amazing. We went like everywhere, all around Israel. And if I was at your stage and having to go through, that's pretty cool. And I was at your stage going around like, but by the way, we managed to, what's the word? We helped effectuate, or there's another word for it, 60 knives for my son's unit. Like we helped raise money for that because they didn't have the proper knives, army issue knives. And so someone was asking me when I told him that, he says, what do they need knives for? So my wife's answer was, well, they need to cut things, like if they're trying to get, through a tunnel and there's going to be booby traps or who knows what, they're going to have to cut stuff, I said, I hope it's just that kind of stuff, but I think it's going to be hand-to-hand combat. Like, what happens if your bullets or the guy's right in your face, Like, you're going to have to... And then the other guy whose son's also in the army, he was just like, no, I can't talk like this, man. Like, he can't, process that this is where we're raising money for knives so that they can be in such heavy situations with these Mashoyim, with these crazy people in Hamas.
Better than not having any knives.
That's true, 100%. They also got ceramic vests, very high quality vests, brand new bags. Like everything was updated, thank God, in this time period, thanks to all the kindness of the Jewish people. And we have to realize that this is going on right now as we speak, and therefore, rather than mourning the loss of TLM and more like a fun energy, a larger program, as we spoke yesterday, it would be wise for all of you to figure out what can you contribute. Everyone, as I said, has a sphere of influence. Share posts that make you proud to be a Jew. Share posts that make you proud to be in Bnei Akiva. lift up the morale of your family, of your people around you, because in the end it's a war effort. We're all in this together, and the war's not ending any minute. Yeah, there's still hundreds of people hostages. Yeah, it's not like it's all been resolved just because they haven't gone into invade fully yet. They've been bombing, and there's less missiles right now, thank God. But it doesn't mean it's over. That's the whole game of this. It's never really over, because what do they want to do? Yeah, so making a ceasefire, what does that mean?
Stopping until they want
Until they rearm.
Oh, the pussies. That's why they want to ceasefire. And now they are going to...
That's true. I agree
to
with.
make a parking lot of Gaza.
That's true. No, he's right. He's 100% right that there's that side of it, that they're going to get smashed and they know it. And that's why they're starting to even talk about giving the hostages back, like all of them. You're right, that is a voice going on amongst them. But then there's the leadership who are not there in Quetta, who are not going to get any parking lot. They don't care. So they're the ones with the final say. And what are they going to say? Ceasefire until what? Rearm. And then they do worse things, you know. You know, this whole thing that happened, by the way, I was listening to Rachel Frankel. Do you know who she was? Yeah, the famous story of the 3 boys who got kidnapped. I was listening to her, Oliver Shalom, listening to her, and she was saying that what her son's being, you know, it's hard to say this, these are her words, of being taken hostage, and the discovery that it created of the tunnels of that time, yeah, prevented what happened now for 9.5 years. That were the words that she said. Meaning they were planning that kind of craziness back then, but because of the 3 boys, they found the whole network and destroyed it. Yeah, so it prevented, they prevented what was being planned. Because imagine all those tunnels and all those entrances into Israel, they were going to come underneath. Now they figured out how to go over or through. But the original plan to 2014 was to come underneath. And so Rachel Frankel was saying that her boys had the merit to basically prevent a disaster 9.5 years ago. Okay, so it's just been delayed. It doesn't mean that all we're doing with them is just delaying their inevitable plan. So what do you want to do? You're very clear about what you want to do. So you basically want to, yeah, my son said, I'm going to find a villa for you, Mum. That's what my son said.
I'm going to invest money into back.
Yeah, back into it.
Soldiers get free tickets.
Yeah. Okay, so that's exactly what my son said. He's going to get a villa for my family by the beach, most beautiful beach apparently over there, that they've been completely wasteful and misuse of all that amazing land. We'll get it back. That would be the ideal. And, you know, where they go, who knows? You know, maybe Egypt would take them, Jordan, yeah, somewhere, I don't know. Maybe the world somewhere.
The ocean.
Huh?
The ocean.
Ocean, could be. Yeah, so...
If they don't bring underground so much, we need to put them underground.
Okay, so the army should have priorities as well, as we're hearing here. And I think the majority of Israel, as we're a democratic country, if we were asked to vote on this, if there was a vote taken right now, it would be more towards what you're saying. I think that almost all Jews, no matter left, right, middle, it doesn't make a difference, even not Jewish, yeah, even Druzim, I think it all agreeing that we need to destroy these people, yeah? That's pretty much like consensus. So I understand there's global politics, I understand that, you know, we want to do it with minimum life loss on our side and on supposed innocent civilians on their side, but it's complicated in that sense, how it's going to actualize, and we're still in the middle of it. I don't know how they're going to actually they have flattened it somewhat, that they've done, but the problem is there's a 40,000 terrorist tunnel network going on, 40,000 people network going on underneath, and they're all waiting for action. Like, they're armed and they're ready for us when we enter. What are we going to do with them? Yeah?
Hopefully they're already buried underground.
We hope, but the intelligence, that's what intelligence is busy trying to figure out. Because it could be they created such a strong system that they haven't been affected by all this bombardment. And that they're sitting there in air-conditioned, because where did all the money go? Where did all the resources go? It went to this problem, terrorism. And Qatar. Another question is, why can't they just knock out the guys in Qatar? Yeah, why can't they, ask Putin for some of his assassins or anyone, or use Mossad should have the best anyway. Why can't they knock those guys out in Qatar? What's holding back this amazing army that we have? But what's holding it back? So would you say they've got the right priorities, or their priorities are confused? The government, the army, it's hard to know. Yeah, and the problem is we need them to make the right decisions. So we need to, once again, as individuals, put pressure as a voice that we want action. We want something to be done. We don't want to end up another terrorist attack the next time, God forbid. We don't want to just keep getting worse and worse. There needs to be some strong action taken. This is evil and it needs to be removed. Like unfortunately, Kahana said years ago, but they're a cancer, and if you've got a cancer, you've got to get rid of it. Otherwise it consumes the whole body. Yeah, this is like a clear understanding, I think, by most of us. The crazy thing is there are people that don't think like you, and they actually have power. And that's the problem, that we're surrounded by a lot of people whose priorities are not straight anymore, and they're not tuned in to what life's about. Like if we would get into the relationship thing, everyone knows, like I brought you sex education when we discussed that program. Everyone knows that the priorities over there are skewed. Like people don't even know what they are. Yeah, or you go to any like up-to-date, woke, like influenced outlet, and you'll say like, what are the priorities? It's just weird. I don't know what you're even selling anymore. Like what is it? What is this message you're trying to say? Like what is the hope? Like I remember Ben Shapiro said a funny thing, like the recent Batman movie. I don't know if anyone saw it. Was it any good? Anyone liked it? I think I watched it on a plane or something. I don't remember where I saw it. And I was sitting there and I was like, I agreed with Ben in this point. It was quite a good movie, but it just felt like Batman wasn't really into it anymore. Like he was like doubting himself. Like when I grew up, the superheroes were all in. What's going on? The superhero like doesn't know what he wants anymore. Like maybe he's gay or something. I don't know. Like he's starting to have sexual crisis, like identity crisis. He doesn't know what he is anymore. And like, are you Batman or not? Like, what are you? You Superman? Are you Yisrael? Are you the Jewish people? Everything starts to lose it's too diluted, and no one has any clue of what they're doing, and it's just a balagan. And then how can Batman take care of him? I mean, I heard the next one, he's going to have a lot to deal with. He's got the Joker, he's got Penguin, he's got, he's going to have a lot of bad guys to deal with. It's just getting more heavy, the whole situation. He's got the new guy, the Riddler. He's got the Two-Face guy, if he's still around. He's got all the bad dudes to deal with, and it's just getting more and more. And the worst thing is they're getting more organized together. So if Batman starts doubting himself, he's not going to be able to take them all out. Yeah? And if Catwoman's on a holiday, in Barbados, he hasn't got anyone to even help him. Yeah? So I know this is a stupid example, but I'm just saying, if the Israelis are out there overseas having a good time in whichever island they're in Phuket or wherever, and they're not here, which thank God most of them returned. It's amazing watching the amount of reservists who came back. Then now we know what we are. We're here to take care of our business. There's no doubt. And we're superheroes. We're not having a what's the word? Like a crisis of identity, or there's a word for it. Consciousness or... Huh? Yeah, that's it. Good man. Accidental. There's not the time for it. There's not time for philosophy discussions about, who was right historically, Golden Meir versus, or Begin versus, Rabin. Get over this. It's old stories now. It's now tachlis. We got to take care of what the current security requires. And this is about, as Rabbi Shlomo Katz said, I'll quote him today and we'll end off with this. If we have compassion on the wrong people, who are we supposed to have compassion on? Let's just get clear. What's our priorities? What was the trait of compassion that Yaakov had so strongly? What was it about? Who's it for?
Us.
Yeah, for our children, for our legacy. If he has compassion on the terrorists, what is he?
Dumb.
He's dumb, he's cruel, he's basically causing his kids to get buried. So the people he's supposed to have compassion on, and he's misplacing it towards the enemy, he's killing his own people. He's killing his own family. That's a complete misallocation of priorities. That's like not family first, that's nonsense first, craziness first, so-called liberalism and love and liberty, but all gone wrong, all in the wrong direction. Nothing to do with wisdom and godliness or just normal human logic. It's madness. So what we have to do in our little sphere of influence, make sure everyone is clear about what our priorities are as a people, and that will, in our small way, influence all the way up. It will. Don't deny your power to influence, and don't deny your ability to get the message of truth out there, and don't deny your ability to demonstrate and live your priorities. Live it. Live your priorities. Make important things priorities, and don't let emergencies and nonsense become your priorities. And that's the class today, to live effective. Thank you. And if the army do this, we'll be successful. We'll win. Let's hope they do.